I'm in conversation with an actor I like and admire very much, Deepika Padukone, who's had a real roller coaster ride this year. So she's been at the center of some weird controversies. She's been the face of a video that evoked incredible reactions. I was part of it too. I really wasn't expecting that. Okay, I was just like, what is going on here? I totally didn't see the storm coming. I don't know, did you?
I don't think any of us did.
We didn't, right?
No.
I mean, there was so when something like that happens, what do you do? Do you just sort of hunker down and wait for it to pass? Does it affect you? Like, how do you deal with this stuff?
See, it was definitely disappointing at some level because we all know the intention. When Homi and the writers and everyone, they came up with this script and they shared it with me. And I read it and I said, Homi, I personally, there are not one line, there are a couple of lines I personally don't identify with. But I'm having a conversation with my director because I can't, I mean, that's his creative piece. I can't mess with that. But yes, as an individual, if you're asking me, yes, there's this line, and there's this line, there's more than one line that I as an individual do not endorse or that I do not stand for. I looked at it from a macro perspective and not a micro perspective, and so it is of course slightly disappointing when, you know, one, I'm being accused of something that that I'm endorsing when I don't. Honestly, that's not even the part that bothered me, because honestly what was disappointing is the fact that an issue that is so relevant at this point in all our lives, you know, we choose to pick out certain lines from the larger narrative and the larger story or the larger point that film was trying to make and blow it completely out of context. That was a bit disappointing. Having said that, I'm always someone who looks at the brighter side, and it will always be happy that there's also a large part of people who appreciated and understood what we were trying to do.
So did you just stop listening? Did you just sort of put the blinkers on?
No, I mean, I've never been someone who reacts on the spur of the moment. You have to let these things breathe, and you have to allow people to react in the way that comes to them naturally. And it didn't need for my reaction at that point, or at least nobody even asked for my reaction at that point. You know, everyone
really?
just, nobody asked for my reaction at that
like
point. They just jumped to conclusions that this is what she's endorsing and this is what she stands for. So I kept quiet. I mean, I've never been someone to just jump in there and give my point of view, unless like now you're asking me and I'm giving you my opinion and what actually happened.
And on a more serious note, she's gone on national television and actually cried as she struggled to articulate her struggle with clinical depression. Deepika, honestly, I did some very kind of rudimentary research and I could not find any other A-list actor in any decade, in any date, who has ever, in Hindi cinema, who has gone on to do that. So to begin with, salute.
Thank you.
Really, really, I mean, thank you for putting it out there. I learned a lot from watching your interview with Barkhadat. One of the things was, and I had no awareness of this, that actually depression has no connection to your immediate, not always connected to your immediate circumstances or your surroundings.
Yeah.
And it's an ailment that can
It's an ailment like any other. For me, one of the most suffocating things at that point was the fact that I couldn't talk about it. You know, and that's what suffocated me. And that's when I got better, I was like, that's the first thing I'm going to do. You know, we talk about everything else. You know, and the statistics show that 1 in every 4 people is suffering. There was a time when people always said, you know, where people thought that, you know, it has to do with the profession. But I think it was nice, and it's nice to know that people have, you know, are evolved enough today to understand that it has nothing to do with who you are in your professional life.
You know, I read in the new Vanity Fair magazine, Candice Bergen has done the Proust questionnaire, you know, that last page that they do. So they asked her, what's your greatest achievement? And she said, surviving overprivilege.
Ooh.
So how do you survive overprivilege? Because, you know, actors are really, in many ways, overprivileged, and materialistically at least they are.
Everything that I've achieved today and everything that I have today materially, if that's what we're talking about, is my own.
You've earned it.
I've earned it. I've started from scratch. I've not borrowed anything from anybody, including my parents.
I think what she also meant was just how the surround sound becomes, the entourage, the kind of everybody fawning over you 24/7. How do you survive that?
That can get exhausting.
Yeah.
Which is why I think I enjoy the time when I go back home, when I spend that time with my family, or even my own home every day, when I'm really just all alone by myself. I really value that time, because as actors, whether you call it entourage or whether you call it the nature of the business or whatever it is,
you are with people.
We are surrounded by people all the time.
Deepika, we talked, I think 3-4 years ago maybe, and you had talked about how you go home and then it's actually lonely, and you said sometimes I wonder, am I just going to get old eating food by myself? So all of that is now behind you. Do you enjoy being alone?
I enjoy that little time that I get alone, because I know when I step out, I'm going to be surrounded by people all the time. And similarly, vice versa. When I mean being alone, I don't mean being lonely. I think there's a big difference.
There's a big difference. Yeah, so I think you've discovered the joys of being alone as opposed to being lonely.
Yeah, I enjoy being alone. Like even when we're on an outdoor schedule, we're shooting the whole day, and then I like to go back to my room. I have my routine. I go to the gym. I'll order my coffee. If it's a new place that I haven't explored, I'll walk around, and I like doing that alone and just, that's one of the things I actually enjoy. Completely different topic, but that's one of the things I enjoy, because when we're shooting abroad, then we can just walk out, just walk around, do some grocery shopping.
Do you like that?
I love grocery shopping.
Why?
I love grocery shopping. There's so much in the market that we can buy.
Like
So
what,
much.
exotic groceries at least, or like bengan and kanda?
Tomato,
You're into tomatoes.
bread, eggs, and I it's
Okay,
really,
you're making this stuff up.
No, I'm not. It's true. Ask my entourage.
So you go and you like buy the tomatoes?
Yes, and I enjoy the privileges that we were talking about. Sometimes we're given like these what do you call them, service apartments, where you have kitchens, and then I like to make my own breakfast.
How invested are you, Deepika, in success, and has that changed? What I mean is in the actual box office success, like when Piku releases, when your films release, how invested are you in that, and has that changed at all after your bout with depression? Do you see things differently?
Fortunately, that's not something that's ever been
That was never a priority.
relevant or important. Having said that, I'm not going to say that I don't care about the box office at all, because at the end of the day, there is a person out there who's putting in, who has certain kind of faith and trust in me, who'll put in that money and because of whom that film is being made. So of course I want it to be a profitable proposition or whatever for my producers, but for me, I don't think it matters. I mean, we all know the success is so relative to how much money you've put in and then how much money you're making. Every 100 crore film is not a successful film. We're fooling the audience by making them believe that every 100 or 200 crore film is a successful film.
Absolutely, it's just marketing. That's all.
Yeah, but the reality is that if a film like Piku is made in 10 crores and we make 15 or 20 or 25 or whatever, that is a success. So what I'm trying to say is that it's a very, very relative thing. Anyway, that for me is not important at all. I think for me what's more important is to be part of films that are memorable, and films that have repeat value for me are successful films. Even with production, like I'm always asked this question. So everyone says, so do you want to become a producer? And I'm like, yes, I want to become a producer, but I don't want to be a producer produced by so-and-so, film produced by so-and-so. And I don't want to be like, I want to do all the back-end work. Scouting, locations, putting things together, making sure everyone's cars are organized, everyone's picked up on time.
So you want to be the line producer?
Line producer, that's what I want to be.
Mommy is looking.
For a line producer. Okay, say this. When I came on to Mami, and what was the first thing I told you? I said, I'll be the secretary.
That's right. That's right. You did tell
I
me
told her
that.
I'll be the secretary, and then she said, we already have a secretary. So I said, I'll be the secretary's
That's me
assistant.
only.
I want to do printouts. I want to make files and folders and nameplates. I want to do all of that. On my off days, that's what I do. I'm sitting in my office room cleaning files, or I'm cleaning my cupboards. I'm taking printouts, putting them in place, labeling. I love labeling and marking. You know. I love doing these things.
So, whenever you want, the Mami office is yours.
I'm ready. I'm ready to do it.
Deepika, you've also been very brave with the professional choices, actually. I mean, I was just thinking in your position, you can do any film you want with any hero you want. Why Piku?
Shujit and Juhi came over. They had this script, and they, you know, between the two of them, they just read this one scene out. And I couldn't stop smiling. It was warm, it was relatable, it was funny. Just one scene can bring out all these emotions. I found that really fascinating. He narrated that one scene to me and looked at me for my reaction, and I was like, I'm on. You know, I'm doing this.
In one scene, you said, I'm on.
Yeah, I was on. This confidence, I hope I have the same confidence on Friday when the film releases, and you know, hopefully I'll be like, otherwise people will be like, you should have heard the full thing. But I'm pretty confident. It's a very quirky take. I think Bengalis by nature are a little quirky. At least that's what I've seen in Shujit. It may not be right to generalize, but that's what I've seen with Shujit.
No, there are two bongs on my team sitting right there. They're very quirky.
You know?
I agree.
He's quirky in every way, in his body language, in the way he talks. He has a philosophy to everything. I don't know if you've met him or if you've interacted
I've met
with
him, but yeah, I don't know him
There's
well.
a theory to everything in life. You know, why is it raining today? There'll be a theory to it. You know, I'm not feeling too well today. There'll be a theory to it. There's a theory to everything, and it's not invalid. It's very, very valid. Like, we were just doing an interview now, and somebody asked us our opinions on constipation and what one should do, and I said, drink lots of water. You know, eat a balanced meal and exercise, because for me, I think these are the things that, you know, that work. And then they were like, Shujit, aapka kya ye hai? What do you think? And he said, tension mat lena. Basically, he meant like have a stress-free life. He said you should never read like, you know, people have a habit of reading in
On the park.
like, yeah, especially in the mornings, the newspaper or a magazine or whatever. He was like, never read because you should focus. And basically you should have a stress, like not be stressed mentally. So his theory was more mental, and I fully get that.
Deepika, I read another interview you did with a film magazine for Piku, and you know, as always, you were of course asked about Ranveer, and you said, look, just because I'm in the entertainment business, it doesn't mean my life is entertainment. And you talked about how politicians and businessmen don't get asked these questions.
Yeah.
But Deepika, actors are not the same as politicians and businessmen.
But why not?
I'll tell you why not. Because people worship you. You are really the repository of all our fantasies, our dreams. You know, you're larger than life. You're on a pedestal, especially in a country like India, where our relationship with our, you know, screen icons is so like deified. I mean, you know, so in that situation, don't you think it's naive to not expect people to be interested in who you're dating?
That's my point of view. I've always wondered, why is it that actors are asked when people who are equally popular, cricketers are equally popular.
Cricketers are.
But I mean, I just looked at it as professionals, you know, professionals or businessmen even. So that's the way I looked at it. Of course, I fully agree with you that actors in our country are looked at very, very differently. The way we're idolized is very, very different. And I fully understand the fact that people like to know or want to know or need to know. I fully get that. But I've had my experience where
we
talked about it, you know, and it completely backfired, because it completely takes away from anything else that you're trying to do. And then everything just becomes about that. And that's not, I mean, yes, it might be a very important part or aspect of my life. But it's not necessary for me to talk about anything to do with my personal life, not just a relationship, any aspect of my life.
Deepika, thank you and stay smiling.
Thank you. Subscribe to Film Companion. Just hit that button below and get your film fix.